PowerPoint. So I see Rochelle out there. That's awesome. She can help out at any given time, and you can go ahead and start the slideshow. Before I go on to the next slide, I tell everybody every single day, Safe Passage is not a program. It's not an event. It's not an idea. It is the community. There are so many stakeholders. And when we go back and look at 2020, the Park District pivoted overnight. While other organizations across the country became paralyzed, the Park District is nimble. And that included the support and understanding overnight of the needs for helping the kids in the Caneo, which really all the credit goes back to the Park District, not only for the origination of Safe Passage, but the day-to-day programming maintenance. And before I start into the next slide, I want to point out 2 days before COVID struck, I was talking to Kurt Gunning in Newbury Park at Portia Park, and he said, Tim, we're going to have to figure out some programming stuff. It's too popular. We've gone from 120 to 190 kids in a week. That was before COVID. Now, fast forward with the nimbleness of the Park District, we peaked at 600 kids in April. 600 kids. We now have about 400 kids. So when you look at a devastating pandemic and national emergency, I look at completely different. I look at where we had 127 kids. We're going to come out of COVID with over 400 kids receiving mentorship and help every day of their life because of the Park District. So don't let that get the go to you. But talking about goats, let's do the next slide. This was last week, Safe Passage kids with your staff out on a goat trip. That video was chalked with your staff, some of them paid, some of them volunteers, some of them AmeriCorps workers. But that's a typical week at Safe Passage through COVID. So while everything else retracted in the world because of your support for the community, it went fourfold for activities. So I'm going to go through these slides really fast because you all know what it is because you created it. So Safe Passage originated out of the Homework Club, which originated out of hundreds of acts of violence in a 2-year period in the Caneo Valley as the gangs had reached epicenter in two micro communities in the Caneo Valley and had reached such a momentum and strength that we were having drive-by shootings and stabbings and racketeering and all kinds of problems. And the Park District and the city joined together and took action with the Homework Club. Tell everybody, all I did was put all the little pieces together and became a cheerleader. That's really it, to let the public know so many people in the Caneo Valley to this day can't conceptualize that we have working poor in our community, that we have people with 10 people inside of an apartment, or people that cannot pay their $50 Edison bill. And we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families like that. And those are the families that the Park District and the city and the school district and the police department have joined together. You can do the next one. We can go ahead and skip that. There we go. What does it take? Back in 2014, I came over, I had been the chief of police of Fillmore, which had a serious gang problem. And I realized that these neighborhoods that were affected were the same neighborhoods that were my paper route. I knew that these neighborhoods could be back completely functional, which they are today, 100% functional. And that was whatever we were doing prior to 2014 as a police department, all we had to do is stop doing whatever we were doing, because what we knew what we were doing didn't work. It didn't work. Gangs grew every year. For over 30 years, the gangs in Thousand Oaks grew. We spent millions of dollars a year fighting the gangs, the war on gangs. None of it worked. So we changed the paradigm, partnered with the Park District and the city and the school district, and we gave the kids hope, a sense of belonging, and grit. So here's what it expanded to from your homework club. Conejo Rec and Park is the lead. The police department, Cal Lutheran University is involved on a daily basis with Safe Passage. They have 3 full-time AmeriCorps workers that work in your facilities every day. Of course, the Conejo Unified School District, they provide thousands of meals a week for Safe Passage kids every single week since COVID broke out. Moore Park College, we're working on setting up a summer camp there right now. Art Trek, Kiwanis, and Rotary have given not only the financial backbone for 2020 for Safe Passage to be able to feed these kids every week, but the staffing with the volunteers. So our goal is simple, literacy. Gangs only want one thing. They need to survive, and that is by recruitment. Recruitment only occurs in gangs if you can keep the kids illiterate. The average literacy of a 25-year-old male in a United States prison is about 4th to 6th grade. That's it. So it's pretty simple. Keep them illiterate and you can put them in jail or prison. Get them literate and you can keep them out of jail or prison. So we decided to turn the gangs model upside down. The gangs are really good. They're better than the cops. They're better than the teachers. And that is that they have been active in the Conejo Valley for 35 years. The average company's on the New York Stock Exchange for 20 years or 22 years, but the gangs outlast corporations because they know what they kids need. They need a sense of belonging. They need understanding, security, finance, food, shelter. So we just simply took all of that in partnership with the Park District and the school district, and Safe Passage provides it. How do we do it? Any community can have STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Like, that's so boring. And a really good community can have STEAM. They can add some art in there, sprinkle a little art in there. No, not the Conejo Valley, okay? You don't live in the Conejo Valley unless you love the outdoors. So the Conejo Valley has STEAMO, and that's what we do with the kids because the outdoors is just as important, if not more important, than the other elements of STEM. In the case of these 400 to 600 kids, they don't have backyards. There are no backyards for them. So their backyards are the Conejo Recreation and Park District and Costco open space areas. So interesting, the city's highest award started in 2021 and has come out of COVID. And the city had to decide who to give the first, if we can stop it 1 sec. If the city had to decide who to give the first award to, I had literally nothing to do with it. And they called and they said, we've gone over everything and we have a Conejo Recreation and Park District employee that we want to give the city's highest honor to coming out of COVID. His name's Wilbert Ack. And he was raised in Safe Passage, witnessed his first drive-by shooting at 5 years old. And Wilbert is a straight A student at Moore Park College, a product of Conejo Recreation and Park District. And here's what Wilbert says about Conejo Recreation and Park District.
Hi, I'm Claudia Villa. Hi, I'm Claudia Villa. I'm the mayor of the city of Thousand Oaks, and I am so excited because today we are presenting the inaugural Community Commitment Award. The city of Thousand Oaks has so many volunteers, many of whom really are never recognized. And today I am presenting one of those unsung heroes. is 18 years old, graduated from Thousand Oaks High School, is attending Moorpark College. It is my pleasure to present, after 1 year of darkness, to a ray of light, and that ray of light is Wilbur Scott. Congratulations.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity, first of all. Very appreciate it.
Wilbur was chosen because of his volunteer work. He's become the right-hand person to our former police chief, Tim Hagel. Tim Hagel founded Safe Passage Youth Foundation. And with that, I would like to bring over Tim Hagel to hear from him directly while Wilbur talks. Is such a wonderful person.
Wilbur is an amazing young man. When I think about Wilbur, I think about a service heart. This is a person in the Caneo community that puts everyone else above himself. The hierarchy is simple. He meets the needs of his family, and he meets the needs of his community. And Wilbur, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
And now I would like to introduce the Vice President of Community Affairs, Amy Cummins, with Wilbur Hospital. She has some really wonderful things to say about Wilbur. Congratulations, Wilbur. We are so proud of you. We are humbled and honored to have him in our community. He really embodies everything that is good. His lens is always focused outward on what he can do for his family, for his community, and certainly the city of Thousand Oaks. So truly, we are just so proud of you. And as we like to say, you are the change that we want to see in the world. So thank you for all that you're doing for our community. You're going to be a fierce, formidable leader, and we're looking forward to everything that you have to offer. Congratulations, Wilbur. To see why Wilbur is being praised and honored today, let's take a closer look at some of the awards that Wilbur has done.
Volunteering for Safe Passage makes me happy. Being there for these kids makes me happy. This program has given me the chance to connect with these kids. I know what they're going through on a daily. Have you ever been 11 before? No, really. And I know how it feels. And some of their homelines aren't pretty. And I know for a fact my homeland isn't pretty. Growing up, I never really had a home. He had his own demons that he was battling. Sadly, he passed away. And from then on, I just decided to help people. If I can help people not become like that, let their story end like that, then I did a good job. What I want them to get out of it, like at this age, is that it's okay to enjoy being food. And when they're older, it's to hopefully they take some of the lessons I've taught them and use them out into the world in their own way. So anyone in the state of Thousand Oaks who is wanting to volunteer, just do it. You will be surprised how much you will make impact by you just doing one simple thing. Thank you, Thousand Oaks.
Wilbur,
Wilbur, you're setting the example
Go to
for
the
so
next
many
one.
other young.
Wilbert, I think, started volunteering for the Park District when he was like 12 years old, and is working at 2 different centers and taking a full-time load at Moore Park College. And he just, you have so many Wilberts in the Recreation and Park organization. Many of them have gone through Safe Passage, starting with the Homework Club, and now they're in college, the first kids. And I just want to end with, as we talk about college, back about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, Rochelle and Tim and I got together with Cal Lutheran University, and they said, hey, there's a thing called AmeriCorps in the United States. It's the Domestic Peace Corps, and we want to bring them to Thousand Oaks. Would you be interested in hosting these Peace Corps AmeriCorps workers? And, you know, Tim and Rochelle are scratching their head for about 2 seconds, and I said, yes, we'll take them, right? And then I looked at them for forgiveness. And it has turned out to be an incredible program. The kids are full-time with Caneo Rec and Park. at Borchard Center and Dover and Hendricks. They are with all these kids and many other more community member kids every day. And it's a program that has just taken off with Jade and Sonia and Miguel. Sadly, they graduate this summer in June. You don't want them to from the university and their fellowship with AmeriCorps, but next year we'll have new AmeriCorps workers. And it's just such a great program. We couldn't have had that happen without the vision of Rochelle and Tim. So that's really it, unless anybody else has any questions. I just want to thank everybody.
I have a question about this is all this whole program is just grade school children.
So it started with the intent of kinder through 5th. Then it grew from kinder to 6th. Now we have kinder through 7th. The problem is filling that gap till they get to middle school. Our intention is to hand them off to Boys and Girls Club in middle school, YMCA, and frankly, sports, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, all these assistant league, charity, like all these other organizations. And that came out of that. We had done a study that I didn't bore you with, but back in 2014, we did a study, and the 2 gangs in town were really grooming by 3rd grade, the kids. They were grooming them by 3rd grade, full-blown grooming, lifting 12-year-old kids through windows, and 10-year-old kids through windows to do burglaries. So we realized we really got to target that K through 5th is huge. As I always said, that there's nobody on death row today in California that spent their Saturdays doing STEM at the parks here. Really, nobody. So.
Okay, so there's that other organizations are really taking the junior high.
Handing them off to them. Literally, that's where the name came out of, was the safe passage. Give them safe passage to middle school. And then, so we get them from first 5 in early education, preschool, and then the park district safe passage takes them kinder through middle school, and then give them safe passage there, pass them off to the sports programs, all of the programs we know that are robust at the higher grades.
Thank you.
Yep.
Director Huffer?
Yeah, Tim, I was wondering, I remember several years ago, you were talking about possibly doing some kind of study to determine, be able to quantify the effectiveness of the program. It's obvious looking at it that, people like to see proof. I'm just wondering, you have people like Wilbert, have you done any kind of follow-up with the kids who started with the K through 6 program and see, because that's been 5, 6, 7 years, see where they are today?
Yeah, I'm going to first answer that qualifying. I did not tee you up and prep, we did not prep each other on this question, right?
Right.
Okay. The answer is, I just noticed those slides weren't in here. I was given a program earlier this week, chock full of statistics, is from 2014 to 2021, gang crime in Thousand Oaks has gone down over 40%. Okay. Now, let's talk about from 1987 to 2014, gang crime never went down. Gang population just increased every single year. Gang population is plummeting in the last 4 years. So we have those stats. We have the stats of every single crime in those micro communities, and those are dropping. The Newbury Park gang dropped by their gang population almost 15% last year. That's monumental. That's huge. So we're following every single kid. The Park District has done a great job documenting all the way back to 2012 with the Homework Club. Not a single safe, and thousands have gone through. Not a single safe passage kid has jumped into a gang. Not one. So that's really the ultimate number.
Director Cussworth, did you have any questions?
Actually, that was my question. So thank you, Director Huffer, because I was thinking, did I miss that? How far is our gang
I noticed the
population
slides
down?
weren't in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I'm really glad that we got those stats, and that's really actually amazing. And I'm really glad that you're going with the younger kids, because that's what makes the big impression. I know my daughter, she works with programs in the state of Washington with the juvenile justice system. And so they're usually getting the kids. after they're in jail. She's working with older kids. And
Right.
she's often said if we could, it would be a lot easier to keep them out of jail repeatedly if they never came to jail. The problem they have is that they get a lot of repeat. She says sometimes they learn to be even better criminals once they're in jail. So working with these kids to stop them from getting into gangs to start with is just absolutely phenomenal. And if they're not in gangs, I'm assuming that none of these kids have gone to jail.
Not a single safe passage kid has gone to jail. And we have a saving with your staff that just was made up organically that the first 4,000 days matter. The first 4,000 days of your life is really setting the course, whether you see acts of violence, whether you're loved, a sense of belonging, and to what you're saying about your daughter, the same thing, right? Is that had they been front loaded with the community caring for them, they wouldn't be incarcerated as teenagers and young adults.
I think it's really impressive because when she was at one time working in counseling with kids, she said they have a different reality than we do. Their fathers, their stepfathers, their uncles, they've all been in jail. They don't really question the fact that they're in jail. That's just part of their lifestyle. So when you can break that, I know I'm rambling on, but I was just so impressed. And I just want to say, you said that you just put the puzzle pieces together. Well, you could have a puzzle in a box with puzzle pieces and they don't look like anything. What you really need is somebody to sit down and put the puzzle pieces together. So don't, I'm sure you're not downgrading what you're doing. You're being humble. But if you don't have somebody putting puzzle pieces together, even though all the pieces are there, you just have a box of nothing. So thank you for putting the puzzle pieces together and getting all of this going. And I really appreciate it in the beginning because I've been to a few safe passages activities. And when I came in, I'd say, well, wait a minute. We've got Art Trek here and we've got the police department here and oh, we're here at the Reagan Library and there. And so I was noticing that without you even saying it. I thought, well, this isn't just a couple of CRPD people here. You've got the whole community involved in this and that takes effort. So thank you so much for all that you're doing. This is an amazing program.
Thank you, and thank your staff.
Director Ling.
Yes, number of questions. How many, if you have an estimate, young people have been through the Safe Passage program?
Ooh, thousands. I don't have the exact number. We have boxes from, it's one of our projects for AmeriCorps, we just haven't had time to get to it, is we have boxes from 2012 of daily rosters, before all the computer days and everything we're doing now. And so I've gone through them. We have those, and it's thousands of kids. Our first kids are going into college now. So the first ones, because remember, in 2012, they were in kindergarten. Some were in 5th grade. And the first ones are now in college, and they're doing great. Fantastic.
Do you have some type of reunions or alumni events?
So it's interesting you say that. What we have found, everything has unintended consequences, right? So the whole idea on paper is to pass them off in middle school and high school, and we're done. See you later, bye. It's like sending your kids off, right? But they've been programming in the Park District Safe Passage program since they were in kindergarten. A lot of them have basically anxiety leaving in middle school and high school, and the reunions occur almost on a daily basis. They come back and work in your centers. So both major, regional park centers have many Safe Passage kids now that are in junior high school and high school out of our program, and they're volunteering back. But an interesting situation has occurred with Westminster Clinic, which is a free, incredible free clinic in Thousand Oaks. And many of the Safe Passage kids during high school volunteer and intern at Westminster Medical Clinic. And they have taken many of our kids and pushed them off into college too. Lisa and her team at Westminster Clinic.
Are you aware of any similar programs throughout the United States through AmeriCorps? Are they aware of Safe Passages in other communities?
I've asked everywhere through Association of Chiefs of Police and haven't found anything. I know why. I know the answer why. That most entities at municipal government are like this. You know, out in the public, everything's kumbaya and everything's good. But for the police chief to be on speed dial with the parks general manager and the chief librarian and the president of the local university, usually they have many adversarial relationships over whatever issues. And so that's the key. And I believe that's why you don't see it going on. You have to be on speed dial with each other, whether you're the president of the college, the head of the library, the school superintendent, or the parks general manager. They have to like each other, and they got to be able to just call each other on the cell phone and say, here's what we need to do. And that's the real key ingredient.
As Director Cusworth mentioned, it's like a box of puzzle pieces. And until you have a Tim Hagel and or your associates working and bringing parts and putting them in place, it's important because we all know that you retired from the sheriff's department, you're going to reach a point where you're going to retire from other activities, to make sure that this puzzle that you're putting together remains, whether you glue it to a board and hang it up, but to make sure that it can be replicated, by other Tim Hagels in our community.
Yeah, I've been really conscious of that, Director Lang. I thought my plan, I think back to like crazy back in high school of listening about government 5-year plans and 3-year plans. So mine is 15 years. I'm figuring, and Jim and I have had long conversations about it. I'm already thinking 15 years out with Safe Passage, both on financing, on what are these kids doing, tracking these kids, the next kids coming up. So in my mind, it's 15 years. I picked that based on my age. And I figured 15 years, then it's time for someone else. I'll have other things to be worrying about in 15 years.
And one last thing, and kind of back to when, reunions or kids who've been through the program getting together and talking about their experiences and the impact of Safe Passage in their current life on the college campus or whatever. I think it would be worthwhile, and again, I don't know, how many opportunities you have to talk to some of the alumni, but I really think there's some important information that these kids have, having been through the program.
Yeah, we haven't done that, but I love the idea. I mean, it makes sense, right? Because it's like a family. It's a family of stakeholders making it all together, but they become family. The whole idea of all these field studies that you all have attended at Reagan Library and all of these literacy days, these are kids that live in opposite neighborhoods that have been antagonistic towards each other for 40, 35 years. And so these kids are growing up together from 2 opposite neighborhoods. And they've been doing that since 2012. So I think a reunion, it sounds pretty cool.
Okay, I could go on and on, as you know, my involvement, but I just want to thank you and all the people that you have included in making this such a great program, and I'd like to see it, as we all would, replicate it in other areas that have gang problems. So thank you, Tim, very, very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you again, Chief, for the presentation. It was a good reminder of some of these things. I saw the picture at the library. I remember being there with that flock of kids. It's a great thing. And then at the CLU, we're talking to some of the staff there, how they were trying to track all the statistics and all those things. So you're great. Get those kids something to do. But just the variety of things. I've heard the puzzle theme here several times. I think you're the one that has the puzzle cover. The box cover that you have the vision of
with
what it's supposed to look like.
That you fight over.
And you just kind of share that information and let those puzzle pieces come together. So I appreciate that. I've also noticed that the recruitment process has continued, but rather than recruiting to gangs, they're getting recruited to the park district.
They are.
Which I love that because, you know, we always like that succession planning. We've talked many times how a lot of the staff of the Park District started in the programs, you know, and then they loved it so much that now they're full-time staff. So we appreciate that effort. And that whole idea about literacy and illiteracy, I had no idea. Thank you for sharing that. You know, I was just thinking as you talk about the Kiwanis and the Rotary sponsoring with the financial, and I know, you know, all the whole partnership. You know, we have a community of partnerships that are making this happen. And the money that it takes to go forward with this, I thought, you know, yeah, that's a lot of money, but what does it cost to house one prisoner for 1 year?
You know, I have that number memorized. So I tell everybody safe passage is the most selfish idea I've ever had in my life because my original intention was just stop crime.
Yeah.
And that was to save my budget at the police department because we were spending over $2 million to chase 200 dudes around Thousand Oaks, $2 million a year, doing ineffective, completely ineffective, right? Cost $127,000 a year to keep a 16-year-old boy in our community. And we've been locking up lots of them to keep a 16-year-old boy in juvenile hall for 1 year, $127,000. Safe passage is just around $1,500 a year per kid. It's simple numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
Simple numbers.
Yeah, it's just incredible. And then the thing that we don't mention, I think it's inherent in what you do, is while we're targeting kids, you're really making impact on families, you know, and because you talked about the community, but it's the families, because we've seen them at the Christmas giveaways where it's not just one kid, it's a whole family. You know,
Right.
you're blessing that whole family,
Sure.
you're blessing that community, you're blessing the entire community. And so I can see that replication of the impact. It's like, yeah, you might be, you know, feeding that one lunch, but it has this multiple. It's like the loaves and fishes getting, you know,
Right.
expanded, you know. It's just incredible how that works. And so I say, yeah, there's some of these things that we'll never know what benefits will have come from this program. But we know that it's all good. And we appreciate your vision for that and how that continues on. And will continue to benefit this community. So thank you for your vision. Thank you for your energy and your continued energy. I'm glad you didn't retire your energy.
No, I made a promise on my last night that I was just going to cut it down to like 50 hours a week. And I've held that, right? But, you know, I have to, and my parting words are this, is that I cannot stress enough. You know, I could give you a 2-hour presentation just on your staff. They are, all of your full-time staff work tirelessly every week on Safe Passage on these kids. They don't give up on them. And all of your volunteers. And, you know, it's everywhere from your maintenance and grounds people. We needing favors. We're bringing 100 kids over to here or there. And it couldn't happen without it. It just couldn't happen.
Oh, thank you. That's another testimony that we hear many times, that our staff is what makes the district. You know, they are that frontline folks that really do make it. So thank you for that. And again, thank you for your continued support. And we look forward to continuing working with you. And thank you for everything.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hey. Okay, next is items from the public. Do we have any public waiting in the wings for